Comment today by a witness in the Michael Jackson wrongful death trial. The top executive for a consulting firm says Jackson had a short life expectancy and it's doubtful his tour would have earned the kind of money claimed by the plaintiffs. Today's court session began with one of Michael Jackson's former doctors, and Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has the latest testimony.
What treatments did you give Mr. Jackson for his pain?
Pain medications.
A former doctor of Michael Jackson tells jurors he treated the singer at his Neverland Ranch as many as 25 times between 1998 and 2003, that the star wanted to end his Demerol dependency, that he worried about death.
He said, "I don't want to end up like my father-in-law."
Who was his father-in-law?
Elvis Presley.
He said Jackson did not talk to him about other doctors. Jurors heard testimony earlier that in the same time period, Jackson was also seeing Dr. Alamurad Farshian for Demerol addiction, implanting Jackson with a chip that inhibits the high delivered by the drug. But did Jackson tell Saunders?
No.
In this lawsuit, Katherine Jackson alleges that AEG officials failed to monitor the doctor who caused Jackson's death. The AEG defense says that Jackson put himself at risk. Dr. Saunders says he worried. What if he injected Jackson with Demerol, unaware that Jackson just got a shot from someone else?
It's too much too close together. He could have a bad reaction.
A second defense witness testified today about Jackson's earning potential, and Jackson's history with drugs were part of his calculation. Eric Briggs, a consultant who projects risks for entertainment media, testified that Jackson's life expectancy was very short, that use of meds affected his long-term health, and that Jackson was taking drugs in a very dangerous way. About the plaintiff's projections of $1 billion from a 260-concert global tour, Briggs says with Jackson's history of concert cancellations, it wasn't likely he would complete 50 concerts. This Jackson attorney says he's wrong.
He's never produced a concert. He's never promoted a concert. He's never done a royalty audit. He's never worked for a record label.
The consultant will be back on the stand Monday. The defense says jurors may also hear next week from Randy and Rebe Jackson and Jackson's former wife, Debbie Rowe.
Jurors in the Jackson trial heard more medical testimony today that included the mention of Elvis Presley. KCAL 9's Randy Page has the latest developments from the courtroom.
Could you please spell your full name for the record?
Scott.
Jurors in the Jackson family versus AEG civil trial were shown this 49-minute video deposition of Scott David Saunders, a Buellton doctor who testified he treated Michael Jackson while the pop star was living at his Neverland Ranch in the early 2000s. Dr. Saunders testified he first treated Jackson for a respiratory infection and later for pain. He said Jackson requested a specific painkiller that is used for patients who don't want to take addictive medication.
He said he wanted to get off of pain medications. He said, "I don't want to end up like my father-in-law."
Who was his father-in-law?
Elvis Presley.
Saunders testified he became friends with Jackson at the Neverland Ranch.
What would you talk about?
Everything. He was rather lonely and didn't have anyone he could trust.
Did he talk to you about his family?
A little.
What did he tell you about growing up?
He said he had a very difficult childhood.
How so?
Because he was never allowed to be a child.
Saunders testified he decreased Jackson's dosage of Demerol because Jackson wanted to get off the addictive painkiller. Then he was shown a medical record from 2001, which detailed an instance when Jackson received a Demerol injection from one doctor, then came to him for another, and didn't tell him about it until later.
That's a bothersome thing.
Why?
Because the potential reaction or the potential problems associated with Demerol are dose dependent.
Attorneys for AEG say if Michael Jackson didn't let his own doctors know about the drugs he was taking, how were they supposed to know? And how can they be held responsible for his death? While attorneys for the Jackson family say AEG knew about Michael Jackson's addiction to painkillers. And they should have done a better job in monitoring his medical care in the weeks leading up to his death.